morning, good afternoon, and good evening, good people. This is Burn Bridges, brought to you by The Creative Catalyst. I am your host, Michael Crown, and I am here with a hilarious person. She's also a very pretty person as well. That helps. This is Jerrilyn Lake. Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Hello. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing good. Thank you so much for wanting to care about my life, to talk to me. That's pretty cool.
Oh, for sure. I have had you on my radar for quite some time. I know I kind of sort of just recently followed you on Instagram, but I saw your content from a lot of other different sources. So I was like, yeah, I got to talk to her. I got to see what she's about.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I'm interested.
Oh, for sure. You definitely are starting to make some noise, and it's really starting to show. I want to dive into, who you are, what you do specifically, so the good people can know a little bit and get a little context about you.
Absolutely. So I go by Indescribeabull. Everybody is familiar with that name. My birth name. I go by Jerrilyn. That's what my mama called me. Jerrilyn Lake. And so I really I'm a fun person. I like to laugh and I like to entertain people. And that's really where all of this stuff comes from. Probably when you were a kid, you maybe made up songs with your siblings or cousins or something. And I realized I kind of had a knack for it. I knew I could sing around 5 years old. I figured that out. And then I started writing, a little bit when I got into high school. And it's just been so crazy and fun ever since. Like, I really love what I do. I love to get people's reactions. And, and I think probably my favorite thing is being relatable, being able to write stories that people can see themselves in. And so that's my favorite part about what I do, doing the musical parodies. Because it's fun, and people relate to it.
I can tell. A lot of your content seems like it's either you coming up or it's very, very relatable. Like, okay, yeah, I can see. I grew up and I know exactly what she's talking about. Like, a lot of it hits home. A lot of it is like really reminiscent. So I think that's what makes it funny naturally without trying, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
For sure. Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. That's where I was born. My family moved to Mississippi when I was about 8. And then I came out to Atlanta about 5-6 years ago. And I've been here ever since. And I love it. Like, Atlanta is booming. I miss home sometimes, but I love being out here because it's so busy that if you ever need something to do, you can. But if you really don't want to be bothered, you can just stay in the house. It's not like you're forced to do nothing, because I come from a small town in Mississippi. Gotcha. It ain't nothing to do. Like, everybody's taking it at the Walmart or the McDonald's on the weekend.
Oh yeah, I've lived in a couple of spots like that.
I enjoy being out here.
Okay, so small town. Are you a country girl?
Oh, absolutely. Fishing, hunting, horseback riding, four-wheeler riding, hiking, the whole nine. Like, I love being outdoors. I love animals. I love sunshine, I'm that girl.
So how is it adapting to the big city? Because Atlanta's a big city.
Yeah, I learned to stay out the way. It's a little more out here than ducks and fish. So.
For sure, yeah.
But, it's one of those things, like, you just you have these, I guess you have these expectations of what the big city, because, Atlanta is Black Hollywood. And everybody talks about what it's going to be like. And so I just came here, just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, just wanting to make something of myself. And, the adjustment really wasn't hard because I have a very boisterous personality anyway. I'm very lively, outgoing. I don't necessarily like a whole lot of people around me, but I'm the person that is always ready to get up and do something. Like, you want to go to the movies? Sure. You want to go rock climbing? Let's go. You want to go shoot pool? You want to go Dave and Buster's? Like, what we doing? I'm always ready to do that. So it wasn't a huge, transition, because I have homebody ways, and then I have, all right, y'all, I got to get out and do something. So it's crazy, how the pandemic will change your preferences. When you realize the threat of, the virus and everything, you'd be like, okay, well, maybe I do want to be at home a little more.
Yeah, isn't it crazy though? Like, a lot of people who are used to being sociable are getting that culture shock in a way, and a lot of people who are naturally homebodies, they treat it like any other day.
Right. Yeah, and then some people are just rebellious, kind of like
Oh
me.
yes.
It's like, well, I just want to go outside because they said I couldn't go, So
Oh yeah.
people that usually be at the house, now it's like, oh, I can't go. Oh, okay. Well, now I really, really, really want to go. And you really ain't got nothing. When you think about it, we really ain't got nothing that pressing. Aside from people that are working, there's nothing that pressing that you got to do. If it means saving lives, you can chill at the house. So
You can. There's a lot to do. But it kind of forces you to be creative. It forces you to really think outside of your ordinary box. And it really, I think, for me, it really kind of forces you to really pay attention to yourself and your own personal interests.
Yep. You're exactly right. It forced everybody to become digital. A lot of people, like for what I do, I'm creating content. And, it's like now everybody has to do it my way. Where I have an advantage on a lot of people that are used to meeting in person or when people do stand up. I love going to see live comedy shows and things like that.
Right.
But with this pandemic, that just isn't. Well, I mean, some places are still open. Atlanta is wide open.
Exactly.
So, but for me, just being out and about like that is not something that I want to. It's not something that I'm trying to frequently do. So you try to be more careful with it. But one person that I admire during this whole thing is Kev on stage, because he's got the Keep Your Distance comedy show, and he's got the app, and he's doing virtual show. And I mean, it's just
it's working.
Miss a beat. Like you said, it forced you to be creative.
Right.
And it's really showing us what we're made of.
It is, and as I've been, just watching your content, and then as you told me, like, you come from a small type of town situation, then you come to this big city, and you have accumulated a crazy following on Instagram. I definitely want to say, like, that's at the top of my essay paper. You have accumulated a very, very big following. How?
It's still shocking to me, to be honest. It's crazy because I've been on Instagram probably almost 10 years doing this stuff, and I never got paid for it, never really got never saw any real growth or anything from it. It'll inch by, you get a few followers here and there. But I really had to redefine who I was and really have a meeting with myself, because I would be frustrated. I would see other people getting chances and getting on TV and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, they're not even funny. She ain't even that funny. She can't even say, and making all these critical remarks about people. And God checked me so fast. He was like, man, you can't even be consistent. And that's when I learned, a few years ago, I learned that, you hear it all the time. Consistency is key. Consistency is key. But it's different when it's your whole life, when it's your livelihood.
Yeah, when you apply it to yourself, it definitely hits different.
Exactly. And I quit my job a couple of years ago because I said, I just kept making excuses like this job is what's holding me back. Then I sat around for a couple of months and I was like, dang, the job wasn't holding me back. I lacked discipline.
Right.
So I changed my drive. I changed my work ethic. And I've always been a really hard worker. But this required something different of me. And so when I realized that ain't nobody gonna hold you up, baby, either you gonna stand up and you gonna make it, or you gonna fall. And there's no safety net. Like you fall. So that might mean you don't have a car. It might mean you have nowhere to sleep. It might mean you go without food. And the priorities shift real fast. So I was like, well, let me get up and do it. And people, content creators, they sometimes get, I know me specifically, sometimes we'll get so hung up on, do people like this? It's just going to go viral.
Exactly.
Are people going to want to buy my merchandise? And I had to take those reasons out too. I told myself that you just do what you like to do. Have fun and mean something. You know what I mean? Like I pride myself on not creating just superfluous content. Like when I tell a story, there's a message there. And I think that's why people gravitated to me the way that they did. Now, TikTok is a horse of a different color because I don't even know what's going on with their algorithm, but I'm sitting at 700, over 750,000 followers. And I got like 50,000 of them this week. So it's always crazy to see the growth, and but I enjoy it because it just means that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and people like it resonates. So that's my goal, is to I like to entertain people, but I love to share laughter and make people feel good.
I think like even now, with things that are going on, in the world, very much more, more prevalent, especially by us all essentially being on the same page for once in a very, very long time. A lot of people are in the same predicament where they're at home and, I hate to say it, for the better word of a better term, bored. And
right.
Or they're in a state of, I want to watch something, I want to do something. And, of course, people like you, content creators, that you create refreshing content as if there is no pandemic. They're laughing as if nothing has changed, and,
right.
Even more importantly, as laughter has always proven that it helps you get through, hardships. It helps you get through some hard points in life, that it's not always doom and gloom as you hear and you see on the news and things like that. So, I noticed that a lot of your content, even for me, I've had some crazy days and not so bright days. You'll say something slick and I was like, okay, all right, I can think of something different, or, it's a much more positive feeling, it's uplifting, and you don't really get as much of that these days. We're in a cancel culture where, negativity is, that's top trending right now. Somebody wants to see somebody hurting, somebody wants to see somebody in pain, and, and everybody's on fake stuff. That it is refreshing to know that there is good content and it's good quality. That's one thing that I will, congratulate you on, is good quality. I don't know if you got a team. I don't know how you do it. And I definitely wouldn't expect you to, to cough up your sauce, because we all got that sauce. And whatever you have going on, whatever instruments and tools you got going on, I'm going to say, coming from a designer's point of view, you got it. And I think you said it. You said consistency, which is hard for a lot of people to do.
Yeah.
And discipline, and to keep doing it. But you found a recipe and you've been making it ever since, and it tastes good.
Well, thank you. I like to think I'm doing a little something, and I, you know what, I will give you the sauce, because it is consistency,
Okay.
And discipline, but it's really just confidence. There are people that are so consumed with what other folks are gonna say, and I learned this a long time ago. Y'all gonna talk about me whether you like me, you dislike me, you're a fan, or you hate. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm doing good, bad, or indifferent. People are gonna have something to say. And
Exactly.
I remember having a conversation with my dad, and he was telling me, baby, I don't want to run your life. I want you to be happy with your decisions. At the end of the day, you look in the mirror, you need to be cool with who you see. And so that's a lot to do with it. Me just being aware of who I am and comfortable, in my skin, and finding my lane. I can't do what Just Hilarious does. I can't be Tiffany Haddish. I can't be Tony Baker. Like, I don't have the pretty V swag. I'm just indescribable. That's me. And so that's the sauce. The sauce is being who you are designed to be, and making it work for you. Because people relate to what's real. That's what resonates with folks. Things that because essentially we all have, like you said, we are all connected in this pandemic. We all have the same experiences, especially in, Black communities. We all have the same phrases, sayings growing up. We all been through the same situation. We got that one auntie, our mama's side is like this, the daddy's side is like this. Like, when we say things like that, people already understand exactly where I'm coming from. So I use that to my advantage, and I tell the story the way that is comfortable, for me, the way that I like to do it. And so that's, I don't have a team of people. I wish I did. That's been my prayer for a few months now. Just, for God. And He sent a couple of people, so I've been utilizing, my resources in that way. But it's just me. Like, I record and write and edit and all of that by myself. And I love it. And it's something special about taking the little that you have, doing the best that you can. right where you are. And when God sees that, He'll multiply. That's really why I'm successful. I'm successful
Exactly.
because God gave me something, and I said, all right, I'm gonna turn it into this, and He'll multiply it.
He threw you the ball and you caught it and you're running with it and you didn't fumble and you're ducking and dodging all of the hurdles and everything like that, and it's showing. And I think that more of that needs to be shown, because I think a lot of people have a very skewed understanding of, you know, an internet comedian, you know, if there's not a better term, but a comedian in general that comes through the internet and things like that, in comparison to a lot of the other comedians that have done stand up and grinded it out, you know, from the OGs to today. Every grind is different. I feel that online is much harder than it is in person back in the day, because at least online you have point of a split of a second to get somebody's attention or they're gone forever. And you know, that conversion rate of, if they laugh, will they follow, will they share, will they, you know, like, will they comment, you know, things like that. That engagement is so technical today, and it really shows you that, you know, when you get something, you just got to keep on. And I know, and I can say for myself that that's pretty much how I got what I got. And I also notice when I don't do it, I'm like, okay, so I'm questioning myself. Okay, so what's going wrong in my corner? Why don't I have this reaction? Oh, it's because I'm not doing this. So then you learn to check yourself. In a lot of ways.
Yeah, you get in that space where you become comfortable. Things start running on autopilot, and you're like, oh, wait, I missed a step. You know, you got to do things decent and in order. And you know, you do the work, you'll see the result. It's really that simple. Faith in who you are, faith in your talents and your abilities, and then being dedicated to your craft. Always being a student. People don't realize you don't know everything. You know, like I would just be telling people, I don't be trying to be mean, but you don't know everything. You don't got the answers, Sway. You know, like you don't have all the answers.
Exactly.
So be willing to be taught. You know, be teachable, and because I always say it's like if I've been building houses my whole life, and you want to know how to build houses, and I'm telling you, why are you arguing with me about how to build a house?
Right.
Like let the person who you built nothing. Let me show you how to build a house. And that's the attitude that I have when I see people that are further than me, more successful than me. Like, I'm not hating. What are you doing, sis? How can I get there? You're not my competition. You're proof that it can be done. That's the way I choose to look at it.
And that's powerful. I think that, you know, I can say I've been in Atlanta a very long time, and I think I've seen quite a bit of different circles, and I think starting from the good, working my way to the not so good. Specifically talking about Atlanta, it is a melting pot, and I know you've heard of it. Almost everybody who's in Atlanta is probably not from Atlanta originally.
Right.
You know, everybody comes from the north, south, east, west, and they make it to Atlanta because Atlanta is a place where there's a lot of opportunity. However, with a lot of that opportunity, you have situations where, you know, you'll have people that will rock with you, would support you, but that's only based off if they understand you and they get you. But as soon as you surpass their level of understanding, as far as like, okay, it might seem weird to them to work the kind of hours that you work. It might seem weird to them that you rather stay at home to edit your content, to put out, to schedule, so then that way you're still creating that consistency. That might be strange to them, and then they'll start to create their distance from you, because then they're feeling like, well, she's not hanging out as much. But then they don't get the importance of, you're relying on yourself, and if you flake on yourself, you have nobody else to blame but you.
Right. You're absolutely right. Because I can't, there is no check coming every 2 weeks.
Yes.
I don't get no participation trophies. I don't get no awards for showing up. So like, if I don't get up and market my business or put the time into my craft, it don't move.
Right.
And that's just the meat of it. It don't move if I don't.
You still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean, just the last part, what you said, it just doesn't move.
Oh yeah. I'm saying like if
Mm-hmm.
if I don't move, it don't the business don't run, the brand
Mm-hmm.
don't keep increasing. Like it's really that simple. Like being an entrepreneur and what people would call an influencer
Mm-hmm.
is so it's rewarding, but it's
Mm-hmm.
way more work than a
Yes.
9 to 5. And people don't really understand that. Like yeah, it's cool to be talking about. It's cool to talk about how well I can vacation when I want, and I do this and this and that and all. Yeah, that sounds all fine and dandy. But when you realize that it's 9 o'clock at night, you've been up since 6 a.m. and you're still working.
Yes. Oh yes.
Everybody else got off at 5, sat in a little bit of traffic, and now they at home with their kids eating, watching their favorite TV shows. People ask me all the time. They're like, "Did you catch so and so on NBC or whatever last night?" I don't even have cable.
No.
I never catch nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like if I can't get it on Hulu or Netflix, I probably ain't gonna see it. But that's how in the zone I be. And to your point, like people will look at you differently. I've had people say, "Oh, you're changing. Oh, you're funny acting. Oh, you think you're better." No, I'm just a little different. Like I have different goals, and my mind is focused on something else. Doesn't make me better than you. I've been taking a different path, and I think that there's something to be said about a person who will see what everybody else is doing and be like, "No, I ain't gonna do that," because I don't have to do that.
I think that I've always been told that, and I don't know, either just my comebacks be too harsh or too strong or something, but I've always been told that oh, you acting funny, this and that, whatever. And I think that and even when people say like, oh, you think you're better than us, I think what it is I've always tried to answer, no, I'm not different. I just decided to take myself more serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that usually shuts down everybody who says and tries to take offense that I'm not the same chummy person that I used to be around them. And because I don't think they know how to really answer that, but it's like, on the realness is like, okay, I have a responsibility. I have a gift that if I don't use this gift, it'll be taken away from me permanently. And as long as I'm using it in a constructive manner and I'm benefiting others around me, I'm gonna keep having this. And
Absolutely.
a lot of people don't really understand that, and it's almost as though as maybe they haven't had a passion so important enough to understand where I'm coming from. You don't have to be an artist, you don't have to be an entertainer, but if you find something that you love, that you're willing to throw hours into it, then we can have a conversation. Then we can talk about it. Then we can actually see exactly what it is that goes all into it. We'll have a level of understanding, and I think that what it is on social media, there's a glorification of entrepreneurs where, I get it. Hey, we can set our own schedules. We can wake up when we want to. We can go to sleep when we want to. We can eat whatever we want. Well, some of us can eat whatever we want. And we can travel. We can take pictures. We can do things during the hours that most people are in a 9 to 5. And I feel like a lot of those people envy that. But if you only see that marketing out there, if you only see those pictures, those videos, you're going to think that entrepreneurs, that's all what they do.
Right. You don't see the countless hours of content creation, editing, interviews, auditions, and all this. And here's the thing. Most people who think they want to be entrepreneurs or what, I mean, if you want to be a business owner or an influencer, a social media comedian or whatever, a lot of people ain't even got the work ethic to do it. They just want the flashiness of it. They want the highs, the highlight reel. They don't want to deal with the late nights, the early mornings, the disappointments, the rejection letters, the foreclosures, they don't want to deal with that stuff. And so, you really have to be built differently because you got to walk alone a lot. That's what I'm learning with this is you can't take everybody with you. Everybody ain't meant to go where God is trying to take you. And when you accept that, you'll treat people accordingly, not be disrespectful or condescending. But hey, I can't kick it with y'all this weekend. I gotta do this. And there's nothing wrong with that. People should be, okay with it. But it's a different mindset that you need to have, because the grind is way different. Being upset about your 9 to 5, getting up and going to work every morning, at least that's a system. At least that's expected. At least you know exactly what you're gonna get every single day. Running a business and being an influencer, I have no idea what any day is going to look like.
Right.
And I'm a Taurus, so that drives me crazy. I need stability. I need consistency. I need stuff to line up and make sense. And when you're an entrepreneur, it just don't work like that. Like, you got to be ready for whatever.
You do. I actually have my brother. You're younger than me. My brother is a Taurus, and I totally understand headspace wise. I know exactly what you mean. And yeah, it's nice to have some structure, but I think it's kind of also, I don't know what kind of pleasure you would call it, but it's kind of nice to know that your every day could be a gamble. Like, today could be a good day, but tomorrow has a possibility to be a great day. Well, just like it could be a terrible day. So I think that there's no exact gamble of chance of anything like that, but there is calculated. So it's like, you're thinking like, okay, well, if I put this work in, let me give it a day or 2, 3 days or so. If I do this work today, then the rest of my week is going to be good.
Yeah.
So you can kind of set yourself up to have more control of your time and the outcome of your time based on how, you set the foundation. So, you and I, we speak the same language. And I think that one of the things that really stood out to me was, I know you have a clothing brand. And one of the things that stood out to me that I thought was really awesome, I do a lot of acronym logos. I do a lot of acronym branding and things like that. But sometimes it don't always sound right, and it takes forever to understand it, even when you hear the name of it. Can you tell me a little bit about where did OK to Be apparel came from?
Good question. So it actually came from, at first the name of the company was called It's Okay to Be Black, but I quickly realized that was too long, and it was a bit off-putting for people that weren't black. And I never want people to feel like I'm excluding them. But I created the business because I felt like there was a lack of positive representation for black people, specifically black women. Myself, who knows more about being a black woman than a black woman?
Right.
And so I just was very frustrated with the angry black woman trope, the bitter baby mama, storyline. Like, there's a negative stigma attached to black womanhood. And it's so unfortunate, because if society would allow us to just be, you will see all the great and wonderful and positive things that we could add. But you want us to be strong, and you want us to bear the brunt of everything. Not you specifically, of course, I'm speaking in general, but I just felt like black women were constantly getting the short end of the stick. And when you talk about being at the corner of blackness and womanhood, it's like we're catching it from two different sides, all day long. And so I said, I want to do something that makes black women feel better about themselves. And that's where that came from, because you can look on any TV station, any movie, television show, and you will instantly see how black people are treated differently, even in fantasy realms, even in, you know what I mean? Even in things that shouldn't even depict reality at all. But I just wanted something for us. And so I eventually created some designs that, non-black people could support. And I changed the company to OK to Be, because now I want you to fill in the blank. It's okay to be whatever, gay, trans, black, Asian. It's okay to just be. There's a huge lack of love on this planet, and I want to just do my part. I feel like I have a responsibility with the platform that I have. I know I didn't sign up for it. I know this is not why I decided to do what I'm doing, but I feel like I have a responsibility to spread love and to encourage people to accept one another and just let people live. Like, there's too much hatred out here, and it's so unnecessary.
It is, and I think that a lot of people have their focus in the wrong areas. I think that, a lot of people, it's easy for somebody to be a keyboard warrior. They sit back, they can say whatever they can online, but then they can't say it in person. But at the same time, you know, it's easier to be a critic than it is to be a creator.
Absolutely.
And I just noticed that one of the biggest lessons that I guess has taken me the longest to really, really understand is the fact that you can't take everybody with you. And, with coming up in the creative world, I've been around a lot of people my age, a bit younger, even a bit older. And I thought about, you know what? Let me do this for them. Let me hook them up with this. Let me hook up their brand with this. If I give them the tools that they need, then we can grind together and get something. And this was my logic being young, coming in this world of business. This is my logic. I'm thinking, well, they don't do what they do because they don't have the tools. Well, if I give them the tools, boom, then, problem solved. That's the naivety.
And then you find out that they didn't want the tools ever to begin with.
Either that or they took the tools for granted, because now they're like figuring, well, because I didn't work for it or I didn't pay for it, it's not a value to me to use it. And I can tell you, I've lost friendships. I let go of a lot of friendships because of that. I just felt like, bro, I did this for you, and I still follow you on Instagram. Love what you're doing right now, but I can't work with you. I can't do, I can't break bread with you again, because it's kind of like it, unless we reconcile and talk about it and try to revisit it, I'm not getting that sense of understanding that you appreciated what I ever did for you. So, and by you not really acknowledging and apologizing about it, it leaves that stain that tells me you didn't appreciate it, kind of thing. And, you can go so hard for somebody. At the same time, I feel like you can't make somebody want something as bad as you want it for them, because you've already seen what it looks like over that hill. That you get excited for somebody, but then that person, they don't know what's over that hill yet. They don't have any idea of what all this hard work ends up to being. And you find yourself getting disappointed because after you've grinded so much of that work, they fall off and they fumble hard. Now you're sitting here trying to figure out, well, where do you go next? Because you did all this work. There's no residual from it. It's basically all that work for nothing.
Yeah, and then you take it personally because you feel kind of responsible. And I've been through, questioning, did I do the right thing? Maybe I went about it the wrong way. And listen, I've learned that when your heart is in the right place, God will protect you. He will cover you. And so when you're dealing with certain people who just don't get it, you can walk away. It's okay to walk away. Nobody wants to do that, but I am an advocate for normalizing the act of just walking away. It ain't got to be ugly. We don't have to hash it out on the timeline. You ain't got to call my mama bald-headed and me ugly. It ain't got to be all that. Just, you know what? It's been real. Good luck. I wish the best for you in the future. And, see you when I see you.
I think a handful of years ago, I just started doing that. And it's crazy how people get mad at you for you walking away.
Yeah.
If you know that the relationship, whatever y'all working together, is not working out, instead of you cussing them out and losing your cool, getting out of your zen, you figure out, you know what? I'm not going to let you take me there. Deuces, it ain't going to work for me. I'm gone. They will sit there and try to they try to make you the monster, as if, oh, how dare you leave?
Right.
It's amazing.
You shouldn't be trying to keep me from misusing you, and you should just tolerate my abuse, and you should just be cool with my disrespect. Honey, it just don't work like that. It just don't. I even in relationships, platonic, business, and romantic, it needs to be mutual. If you ain't riding for me the same way I'm riding for you, let me out the car at the next light. Because I need a team. I need a partner. I need somebody or some people who actually have my best interests at heart. And if I literally feel unsafe in any way, emotionally, physically, I need to be around people that I can trust. And if I
Exactly.
see you fumbling your bag, I ain't gonna give you mine and see and be like, oh well, let's see what he can do with this. God don't give toddlers scissors. You know what I mean? Like
No.
that's not what we doing. We don't give people stuff that they're not ready for. If you give a 6 month old or a
Hmm.
1 year old a butcher knife, they're gonna hurt themselves or someone else.
Exactly. They are. Well, you know what
Same
they.
reason you don't give
Mhm.
newborns. Same reason you don't give newborns pork chops. You know, like they're not ready for that. And when you see people operating under that level of maturity, you have to step away. You have to. They got to learn the same way when we were kids and your mama told you this X, Y, and Z 1,000 times,
Mhm.
and you just had to learn the hard way. It's the same way. They'll
It's
be all
like,
right. The same way God gonna cover you, He gonna cover them too.
well, you know what they say is like, don't cast your pearls with swine.
Absolutely.
You know, I think one lesson that I learned when I was a little boy, and I thought my dad was so cruel for doing this to me. I didn't quite understand it. So he was cooking, and this is definitely not his fault, but I felt like he should have understood the situation at the time. He was cooking, and the stove was hot, and I'm being nosy. I go, and I'm trying to touch the stove, and he's like, "No, Mikey, stop. You're gonna hurt yourself." He told me like 3 or 4 times. Now I'm hard-headed. I'm not listening. I keep on until I actually touched the burner, burned my finger, screamed. It was traumatic. Oh my God, it was terrible. And so he told me, he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna help you. I told you 3 or 4 times, but you had to learn the hard way, and now you hurt. Now I gotta tell your mama, look what happened. Now you're hurting. Now you're crying. Look what you did." And I apply that today in a lot of ways where, if you don't really know yourself, you can't really catch yourself before making a mistake. And that's why, these days I try to make it very known that in my content, I want to make it to where, knowing yourself is so important before you know anything else. Because how can you know something else if you don't know yourself? You're basically you're kind of like mindlessly following the patterns of the regular mundane situations that are going on. You're not doing anything to elevate. You're not doing anything to upgrade. We're not supposed to just live life just to live life. You're supposed to constantly be in a state of bettering yourself, constantly in a state of doing something better today than you weren't yesterday. The mistakes that you make today
Absolutely.
are not going to be the mistakes tomorrow, or they shouldn't be. But you also know what they say. A person who fails to acknowledge their history is going to repeat it for their future. Or at least not
Right.
acknowledge.
Absolutely.
If you don't learn from your history, you're going to repeat it.
Right. You're absolutely right. It's inevitable because
It is.
it's like taking tests.
Mhm.
If you don't study, you're gonna keep failing until you decide, okay, I'm ready to take this seriously.
Yes.
Let me figure out what I got to do to pass this.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And something that you kind of touched on, which is something that I definitely want to ask you about. So in the classic come up, I know we all have different ways of what sparked our interest in getting into what we got into. For music or comedy, because it seems like they go hand in hand for you.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask this first question leading into the second question. Music and comedy, which one came first?
In my life, music came first.
Mm-hmm.
Comedy is something that happened later,
Okay.
and then I said, let me merge the two.
Got you. Okay, so I could see that. So, in a lot of ways, a lot of comedians, they try to say that, a lot of trauma, a lot of heartache, a lot of ugly stuff is like the core ingredients as to what, breeds comedy, because you're basically, you're trying to shine light on things that, that are depressing, things that are saddening. You're trying to find the light to basically keep your mind in a much more healthier state. Has it really been the kind of traumas in your life that you basically had to, find some light, create some light out of that, and pour that into your comedy?
Absolutely. Life really is hard, man, and nobody really knows how to do it.
Mm,
We all just kind of figure it out. Nobody's gonna get out of it alive. It's not a game that you win. You can't take none of this. All the stuff we hustle for, we can't take it when we die,
right.
and you will die.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like taking your experiences and just making the best of them, and it definitely comes out in my art. People always ask me, "How did you think this up?" And I'm like, "Girl, because it happened 3 years ago."
Mm-hmm.
And there are some things that I write about that I literally have no clue. Like, I do parodies for teachers or nurses or, people that are in crazy relationships and stuff like that. And it may be that I saw a meme that sparked an idea, and I said, let me write a song about that, because if this meme is going viral, this video will probably go viral too if I sing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times that's how I get a lot of my content as well. But I definitely had some struggles. Just figuring out who I am, especially in relation to, because this is a male-dominated field,
Mm-hmm.
and I've dealt with people who felt like women weren't funny. That I needed a male counterpart if I was going to be successful. If people talk about you physically, they say that you're not that talented, or you look crazy, or look at her hair, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that can really be traumatizing. And I remember that I went through a very rough time a few years ago, and I just stopped creating altogether for about a year. And I really just needed time to figure out who I was. And by that I mean, like, I'm it. Like, that's that confidence. Like, I had lost my confidence, and I had to remind myself, girl, do you know who you are? Like, not like I'm better than anybody, but God really picked me for this. He chose
Right.
me, and I'm not saying nobody else can do it, but this is my walk. This is what
Right.
He's called me to do, and if I stay consistent and true to it, I have to win. If I do the work, I have to see the results. So trauma is nothing but something to overcome. You go to therapy, you talk, you pray, you do group sessions, whatever you need, burn sage, Buddha, Muhammad, Allah, I don't care, whatever higher power you connect with. But
Mm-hmm.
put yourself in a space where you can feel at peace. Because when you don't have peace of mind, everything else falls apart. I don't care what your profession is.
That's true.
If you ain't sleeping good at night, you suffering.
I could
Because
tell
it
you.
just drags. Everything just compounds. The less sleep you get, the more I'm tired at my job. Now I got an attitude with my boss. Now I done snapped on my coworker. Now I'm fired. Now I ain't got no money. Like, it's compounded on top of all this other crap that you got going on. So my especially this last year in 2020 and beginning this year, my main priority is staying in a space where I am at peace and able to create and happy with who I am. If that means that I gotta leave you behind, so be it. If it means I gotta pick up 3 more people, so be it. Regardless of what that looks like, it has to benefit me first.
Right.
And so many of us tend to care about what everybody else is doing and what everybody else wants. And, well, I got to please these people, and I got to satisfy, and I got to make sure. Okay, but what about yourself? You can't pour from an empty cup.
I talk about that a lot. I think I put myself in a lot of positions where I had a whole lot in my cup. I had a whole lot, and I had a lot of people who had empty cups, and I felt like, you know what? My purpose here on this earth is to share, So I figured, you know what? Let me share what I do best. And I poured into a whole lot of other people's cups. And that's when I felt like a lot of people were rocking with me. And it was strange because it's kind of like I got accepted in circles because I was doing for other people and I was benefiting a lot of people. But when I started to notice that my cup was feeling a little funny, and I was like, hold on, it's a little lighter than it's supposed to be. Why isn't it like this? Why isn't it a little bit fuller? And as soon as I start to notice it, of course, I start getting people to look at me funny, treat me funny, and call me out as I'm the problem. And, as I'm starting to notice and I realize, I gotta take care of me. How can you help somebody if you can't help yourself? And,
Absolutely.
we got this weird sense of what selfishness and selflessness is, that that gray area is so thick. There's no more fine line between selfless and selfish. And people don't really look at it like, hey, if I don't have anything, how can I help you if I don't have anything?
Right.
How can I pull you up if I'm not up? I feel like I gotta be up to a degree to be able to pull you up with me.
Mm-hmm.
But also, along with that being said, I've learned a major lesson that working with people who got their own situations going on and they're killing it and you're killing it, two people who are great can only be amazing. You can't be great and then somebody else is okay. There's no balance in that. Because if you're up here and you're doing 10 level work and somebody's still scraping at 2, there's an imbalance, and they're going to basically be milking off of your creativity, your ideas, your hard work, your labor. They're going to be benefiting off of that, but then they'll turn around and expect a 50-50 cut.
Yeah, and it's draining. It's so draining. I've been in that situation before. You have to get away as quickly as, listen, I cannot stress this enough. Every relationship that you have in your life, no matter the dynamic, it has to be mutually beneficial. If y'all ain't giving and taking, it's not going to work. Somebody going to feel disregarded or taken for granted or disrespected, or like they doing too much, or like you complaining and nagging all the time. You want too much, if you can't wake up every day and give me the best of you like I'm giving you the best of me, we're going to have to part ways.
That is true. And it goes into it where, you wish the other person, the best, but maybe that journey right there is not meant for you all right now. It could be a timing thing. It could be say, hey, we can't work together right now. This is not saying we can't work together ever. Now, there are people that you just don't need to be working with, period. But in most cases, during the come up, as you're constantly coming up, sometimes somebody may not be able to be on that same highway, moving the same speed limit as you right now. They might have to meet up with you down the road at a later point. I've had plenty of people that I've met up. Oh, I remember you when you first started, and now they're popping, and I'm in the position that I'm in. It's like, okay, maybe it wasn't meant for us, and we both can agree back then was not meant for us. There's a reason why today we're able to click so perfectly, is because we both had to grow separately in order to connect together today.
Right. Absolutely. And I've learned sometimes you're the toxic person. I had to deal with that too. I was like, okay, my bad. I'm sorry if I ever hurt somebody. If you ever had to let me go or cut me off, I 100% understand. Because being on the other side of it, you understand. You really see how important your peace of mind is. You can't substitute anything for that.
Isn't that something though? That even what you just said right there, I don't think people really have a really solid definition of what a toxic person is. And the reason why I say that is, if I'm using you and we're working together and I'm mooching off of you and I'm benefiting you and you're fattening up my pocket, if you decide to get wise and think that, you know what, this ain't for me, I'm gone, I'm out, I will label you as a toxic person because you're not allowing me to do what I
manipulate and use it, right.
Exactly. And that's the culture that we're in today. We're in that culture where it's easy to throw out, different things, but it's like, I think anytime that you're taking away from somebody and not putting in is toxic.
Yep.
To the foundation. I think, a lot of people are used to benefiting off of somebody else's clout, somebody else's status. And, you, just like I can say, making the content that we make is hard work. Coming up with the ideas, writing it, timing it, the whole situation. And, people they only get the tidbit of the benefit of the after product. They don't know the unattractive, the unsexy stuff that goes on while building it. They only know, okay, she did her makeup, she looked good, she got this, she got her hair done, and her video looks good and it's funny. They see that, but they don't know you probably wrote that with curlers in your hair, didn't brush your teeth, eating a bowl of cereal.
I got up at 5 a.m. because the
Right.
Lord dropped it in my spirit.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, crusting your eyes, you probably woke up in pajamas and wrote whatever you wrote. They don't know what it took to make something. And that's the thing about entrepreneur. And I used to look at it as both a gift and a curse, because it's like you could be doing something and it's late at night, you get to sleep, you get hit with an idea. And we all know what ideas happen. They don't last long. And you got to wake up at the strangest time and write it down, take a note of it, because you know it's going to wither away and wear out. That if you know that if you don't take note on that one gem that's thrown at you, you'll almost never get it back. And that one gem that comes around every so often, that could be the thing that gets you paid, gets you a ton of followers. There's a benefit in it. But I noticed, you know, I've been playing this little bit of game and, you know, things like that. And at least I call it a game. To me, you know, with my relationship with God, it's like he'll throw something out there, but it only lasts about a minute or so. You know, and then when it's gone, it's gone. And I was like, okay, it's telling me that I need to slow down and pay attention. So when something is thrown my way, I can take hold of it more efficiently, more effectively.
Yeah, that's you know, the thing that I learned is that time is of the essence. You know, you stay ready, so you ain't gotta get ready. That's what they say. And so I try to always be prepared, because one thing my dad taught me a long time ago is God, he cares about your ability. He values your talent. He gave you those gifts. Of course, they're important to him. But what he cares more about is your availability. And a lot of times you'll get passed up because you too lazy to work, or you don't feel like it, or you're not disciplined. God ain't got time for that. He needs obedient service. You know, like I was told by a good friend that people are suffering because you're not operating in your gift. And that's when my perspective shifted. I said, okay, Jerrilyn, everything that I do ain't for me. It ain't for you, you know? So keep moving forward. You're going to have some good days and some bad days, but they're going to be your days. And I got 100% success rate of every bad day. I don't know about you, but I survived every single one of them. They didn't kill me. And so I'm pretty sure I can make it.
I mean, that's why you're still here. That's why we can talk about it. You know, and that's the beauty behind it. You know, you don't get wisdom from winning all the time. You only get wisdom when you go through something and survive it.
Yep. Sometimes you gotta lose.
Yeah, but I've noticed that, you know, it's the losing and it's the learning what you did wrong as to how you lose. I tend to value that more than the actual winning itself, because losing is kind of like, okay, I can go back and assess, okay, I did this wrong, I did this wrong, I did this wrong. So let me switch it around, let me change up the pattern, and let me move on to something else. And then boom, that's how you learn, that's how you grow. But if you're always winning, like you said earlier, participation medals, which everybody seems to be getting these days.
And think that they're entitled to them.
Yeah, like just because I was there, I feel like I should get a cut because I was just in the room.
Right.
You know, I didn't write the song, but I handed out headphones to everybody and I swept the floor. So I'm entitled to something because I was there. You didn't contribute. On top of that, that whole participation thing is... Now, I grew up with that a little bit with my siblings, and it irked me. Even as a child, it irked me. Because I'm sitting here like, but they didn't help do this.
Right.
No, share it with your brothers and sisters. Like, but they didn't do this, though. Like, am I crazy? And I'm a child, and I question this. I'm sitting here like, am I on TV? Like, you know, what's going on? Because I'm sitting here, and it blew my mind as a little boy, and even to this day, I had grown people. It's like, how do you want a partner cut? A 50-50 partner cut, and you just referred me? Or you just did the very least minimum work, but I did the work, I grinded, I built it, I designed it, I did all that kind of stuff. And it blows my mind. And some people, they just got that situated in their life and it works for them. But, as soon as you take yourself out of that relationship and situation, everybody else, the audience, can tell when something don't taste right.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, nah, that don't taste the same. You changed something up. It don't look the same.
You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
And I want to ask you, like, as far as like even like in business, and I know you mentioned something about we talked about teams and things like that. So being in Atlanta, I know without even trying, you've already met up with different people in media, photographers, videographers, people in music, things like that. Has there really been those awkward moments where somebody would start out being motivated, ready to work, and then they'll either expect things for free, or then they expect you to do the work, and then they want to come in after the fact?
Oh, all the time. All the time. Because you got to think, living in Atlanta, everybody is somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's a producer. Everybody's a model. Everybody can get you where you want to go. So you got to jump through hoops to impress these people. You should want to, right? Because I'm in Atlanta. I've been doing it and blah, blah, blah and all this stuff. And I'm telling you right now, my dad has the best catchphrases and sayings and colloquialisms. He said, hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard. And I stuck with that my whole life.
I agree.
Because you're not going to outwork me. You might be prettier than me. You might sing with the voice of Angel. You might be way more funny. You might, create better songs. That's fine, but you're not going to outwork me. Nobody's going to outwork me. And so when you get into a situation where you see the actions don't match the talking that was done.
Right.
You just kind of like, oh, okay, I see what this gonna be. And you just politely excuse yourself. It ain't no big deal. Listen, we ain't got to talk about it. We don't have to go back and forth on social media. I ain't here to embarrass you. I'm just going to get my things and go, because the time has expired. There's nothing wrong with you realizing something no longer serves you. And you got to take your peace of mind, your sanity, and just go. Because you want to be.
You do.
You want to work with people. You want to, collaborations are a beautiful thing, again, when they're mutually beneficial.
Exactly.
I'm not going to do something with you and you the only one saying to gain something. I have people, they'll be like, hey, you want to do this original content and I'll pay you in exposure. No, I'm not doing anything else for exposure, because what people do when you do stuff for free, they tend to waste your time. And yes. I have learned that the hard way. When it's just like, hey, let's just get together and do. Nope, I'm not winging anything. I need a call time. I need a compensation. I need specifics. What questions you talking about? Where we going to be at? I need the whole rundown. Because when you're serious about it, other people get serious. And if they're not serious, they excuse themselves.
Oh, you said something right there. You definitely said something. And I know it might, in a lot of my content, it might seem like I'm hating on Atlanta, but I do love Atlanta a lot. But I do know that I've run into so many of those kind of people like that, because I'm going to toot my own horn. I'm very good at what I do. So I stay getting, I'll pay you an exposure. Or, hey, just come through and let's just vibe out. Let's just try to figure something out. Like, because I don't work with vibes. Right. And it's sad to say, sometimes the unplanned get-togethers create the best things. However, today, 2021, you got to be more mindful of your time, because now more than ever, folks is dying our ages. Yeah. Nobody's dying at 80 no more. At the same time, we're dying of the craziest of things these days. And as long as I got my gifts, and as long as I'm able-bodied and I have my hands, I'm going to use what I've been blessed with. And I also have to look at it like this. My time is valuable, and I want others to feel the same. So that's why it's a case where, if I decide to collaborate or affiliate or anything like that, I will put myself in a consumer's shoes as well as a provider's shoes, because I know I wouldn't want anybody to want me to do anything for free, and I wouldn't expect you to, the same. Now, I know a lot of people, they tend to not on the front end talk about that. They tend to not mention anything like that. But if you want something done for free, let's talk about it. If if you're just doing something to do something, let's talk about it. But it's always usually after the fact,
Yeah.
And they always hit you with that gut punch, like you're thinking, hey, we're just doing something and there's no cost. But then they hit you with a charge, a bill, an invoice. And it's like, wait a minute, we didn't talk about this on the front end. I'm cool with paying, but this is a little shady because now I feel like you're trying to milk me for some money now. I feel like you're trying to have a come up after the fact.
Right.
And I get arrogant with people. I always say that I'm going to get exposure regardless, because whether this content goes somewhere with you, it's going to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I look for the bigger prize. I don't usually like to do things for the sake of money, because I know there's a bigger prize at the end. I know if you don't pay me this $1,000 today, somebody might see this and they might be willing to pay me $5,000.
Yeah, and like that's another thing that, like, with being a business owner, people will be like, oh, this hoodie is too expensive. Okay, well, you're not my ideal client then, are you? Because the price is the price.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I tell people, you cannot pay me in exposure. Expose me to some payment.
You said
That's where I'm at with it, because I feel like not in an arrogant or cocky way, but you have to think. This is my livelihood. This is how I eat every day. I work like this every day to create a lifestyle for myself. And you're asking me to abandon that because what? Because you think this will be a cool idea? You want to take up an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of my day just for vibes?
You ever been in a...
I have to vet every opportunity. I need to see
how
serious is this person, or are they just playing games? Because people will sit up and play, for free and paid sometimes, will sit up and play right in your face.
That is true. And I think that for the wasted time on something that's paid, to me, that's bold. That's already bold, because there's money on the line. And that has really gotten under my skin more than, oh, we just vibing, we just chilling. Because now there's money on the line, and it's like, okay, if this is my livelihood and you're playing with my livelihood, those are fight words,
Mm-hmm.
Because now it's like, okay, by you doing what you do and you don't care, you literally took a meal off my table for tonight.
Right.
And if I had kids, you took some food out of my baby's mouth. I'm not going to be too cool with that, because then now I got to make it up on something else because I wasted time here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, exposure don't pay no bills. Landlord don't care about that. Car note don't care about that. And I just think that a lot of people, they disconnect in thinking that, okay, hey, maybe people who create content have money that they can just afford to make content and post it all day, every day. People don't know. A lot of this stuff is bulkily made. A lot of this stuff is made late at night. A lot of this stuff is made all day, to where when I post it and I have it scheduled for early in the morning, people think that I just decide to wake up, make content, go back to sleep, and then post it, and then that's it. And people don't really have a real reality of how something is. And I know we don't really expect them to, but there's a line of respect. There's a line of, if I charge for something and I just met you, don't ask me for a discount.
Right. Pay what everybody else pay.
You pay what everybody else pay, but that has always gotten under my skin. Because it's like, one, I'm sure that there will be other work from you and your people and your friends, I'm sure. But I don't know that, and I just met you. So you're saying that, okay, if I give you my hoodie, you gonna tell your people, and I don't know that ROI. I don't know what that looks like yet.
Right.
And people try to get away with that, and they've gotten away with it a lot and I've let them because of my ignorance, and that's my fault. But I think one of the main things that I mainly learned was, self-value. At the same time, you ain't got to be snarky, mean about it, but you got to be firm with it. And you name your price, you stand by your price. And again, hey, if they come back after the first go, hey, be nice on the second time. But the first go, that sets the tone of the rest of the relationship. Let me ask you, as a woman, a man asks you out. Y'all go out to dinner, but then he looking funny when the check comes, and he's either asking you, hey, can you help out?
But you asked me to go to dinner.
Yes, he asked you to go to dinner. That's going to be a really short night.
Yeah, it's going to be awkward too, because when I pay for my half and go to my car and go home, and he be still sitting there looking crazy. His feelings really gonna be hurt. I pray no man ever tries me like that. But I do understand your principle. You just gotta respect people's time, and treat people how you want to be treated. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, they think life is a game to be played, or they think life is a board game, something to cheat at, maneuver, manipulate, and that's why you lose. That's why you lose. Straight up, that's why you lose, because you're too busy trying to find a shortcut or get over on somebody, when you could just be a genuine person and reap the benefits of whatever it is, that person had to offer.
For sure. And, I think some of my biggest lessons have been from people trying to cheat the system, cheat the game, trying to get over. And I met some of my best relationships through that bad relationship. And to this day, we still work together. We still are in communication with each other, because we didn't let that one, they always say, people are in your life for seasons and things like that. And sometimes it takes meeting a person to meet another person to know that person that you met after that person is for you. And, some of my best friends have come from that situation. So, I know in this show, it is about burn bridges and about relationships. It's about, yes, business, yes, careers, because a career is a lifestyle, honestly. This is not a job. This is not a game. You don't just decide to do something. This is something that you wake up and you're the person that you put on Instagram. You're the person you put on YouTube, and you go to sleep the same. You got bills like everybody else. You might eat better food than everybody else, but the point is, a lot of the things are similar, and I think people lose track of that reality.
I agree. I think it's a tough world, man. Entertainment, entrepreneurship, and being an influencer, because you are constantly challenged to, well, if you just show a little side, or if you just do it like this, or if you talk like this, because you see other people getting ahead doing it that way. And it makes you want to skip the line a little bit, but if I don't have nothing else, I'm going to have integrity. I might make some mistakes. I might not always get it right, but you're not going to ever see me purposely doing something that I ain't got no business doing, And so I think that, like you said, it's important to wake up and be okay with who you are. And that's my goal every day. Have peace of mind, do what I love, create a lifestyle that I don't necessarily need to vacation from, but also be able to vacation if I need to.
Yes. So it's self-care. It's a necessity. It's self-care. You got to get away from people. You got to go somewhere you don't normally go to, because you got to recharge your batteries. You got to, and I think that I value alone time so important, because that's your alone to be able to have your own private conversation with God. That's where I think you can hear him the most, when you are alone, because you don't have the noise of other people in your ear hounding you down about what they want from you. And I don't think a lot of people get enough of that. And they're always around people, and they need people to validate them, and they need people to feel like they're, that they're valuable. And I can tell you, if you didn't already know, if you reach the point where somebody has you questioning if you want to keep doing what you're doing, you know you're in a bad spot. Because if you got to question the thing that keeps you happy, pays your bills, keeps your mental sanity, but you feel like quitting because of somebody and the way that they make you, you don't need to be with that person. You don't need to be working with that person, be around that person. And I think that same principle should apply to business and personal and friendship.
Absolutely. You're 100% right.
You know, I think, I want to ask you, my last question. I want to ask you. I'm pretty sure that you burned a bridge before, whether you burned it or you had to burn one. Whatever way you want to answer this. Has there been a bridge that you've burned that you had to let it stay burnt? Or did you actually have a bridge that was burnt and then it had to be resurrected or found itself that way?
So when I say burn a bridge, I think of a literal bridge. Like, I can't get from one side to the other because I have demolished the only pathway to the other side.
Right.
And I wouldn't say that I've ever done that. There are people that know they better not ever call me again for nothing. But it's not like a disrespect thing, or we don't have no beef or nothing like that. But yeah, I've definitely had to, when I see people moving a certain type of way, I'd be like, all right, I see what time it is. You ain't got to bite me for me to believe you a snake. I see your stripe. I hear the rattle and I see the fangs. I trust you. Like, I feel you. I don't need to be bit. So, I try to move with discernment when I'm dealing with people, because like I said, every relationship has to be mutually beneficial. And once I see that you're either self-serving or manipulative or a liar or, just sneaky and stuff like that, I get up out of there. Like, how people be like I know, like our grandparents and stuff, they were in marriages for years and years and years with abuse and outside children and drug addictions and all this stuff. And it was because, people couldn't afford to go nowhere. I got 5 kids and no job, no degree, and I just got to sit here and take it. Honey, I got 2 degrees, a whole business, and the decent amount of money in my bank account. What I am not going to do is anything that I don't want or have to do.
Right.
And that includes dealing with anybody who is going to compromise my peace of mind or infuse negativity in my space. Like, it's so important to take care of your own mental health, and whatever that looks like for you. I do spa days. Like, I set my schedule up to, I just refuse to work on Saturdays and Sundays. Now, if there is something, if I'm booked for something or somebody got an event I need to show up for, then I'll do that. But Saturdays and Sundays are my day. Don't call me, don't text me, don't ask me to do no content. If I already have something planned, cool. If the Lord gives me a something to post, cool. But I don't wake up on Saturdays and Sundays and plan to do nothing. That's my time. So I usually, I'll get my nails done, or maybe go get a massage, or eat, stuff I ain't got no business eating. Spending a little too much money online. That's how I take care of myself. That's how I relax and unwind. I make sure I force myself to take breaks. So I recognize how being treated well feels. So when somebody doesn't meet that standard, I can instantly say, all right, I'm done with this.
That makes sense. And, it's just so easy to do for everybody else, and you neglect yourself. It's just so easy these days. And, you definitely said a mouthful. You said so much that it takes time. It's going to take some time to really digest, the multitude of gems that you've already thrown out in this, in this episode. And, I want to, again, thank you, for coming onto the show and just really, really talking, having a real conversation,
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
For sure. And I definitely, look forward that you come back in another season. This is season 1. So I'm excited. This show's already done pretty well. So I'm looking forward to having more behind the scenes conversations of people who do amazing things like you do.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And, again, I appreciate you for having me. Let me know when I can come back. And if you, look, I got friends. So if you want to get some more people on to talk, you just let me know. But I really have enjoyed this, and thank you. I like the transparency. I like what you're doing, and like I said, I appreciate you for being consistent with me to make this happen. Because I think, like I said in the beginning, people love something that they can relate to, and I think these are conversations, honest, transparent conversations that need to be had, about relationships and business.
Persistence always wins the race. Always.
Absolutely.
And that's it. And you signed it and you sealed it. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it here. This is Burn Bridges, brought to you by The Creative Catalyst. You all have a good night.